All right, I'm back. I'm still James, I'm still with Magnetic, and I have a panel on the future, the next generation of retail. Yeah, please come on up. There are our 4 panelists. I'm going to do something a little different with this panel. Traditionally, what you do with a panel is you have some provocative questions and you try to get all the panelists to answer them. But this time, I'm going to go a little bit in depth with each of our panelists. We have 4 here, Tote, Invodo, American Giant, and Madison Reed, and they all have specific business models that are innovative. And so I thought spending 3 or 4 minutes talking about each of those things one by one would be a great way to introduce everyone and a great way for us to learn from their innovation. So I'm going to start with you, Amy.
Great.
Amy is with Madison Reed, and so Madison Reed is working in hair coloring, right?
Correct.
And you've done something, several things innovatively. Why don't you just sort of start by talking about the company and what you're doing and why what you're doing is different?
Great. So I started Madison Reed about 2.5 years ago. And the whole concept of, I want you to think about the business, you can think about it as hair color, or you could think about it as disrupting consumer packaged goods. And much like somebody like a Harry's or a Dollar Shave Club has kind of proven that repetitive usage of a product is key to a direct-to-consumer business model, well, for women, over 100 million women in the US color their hair, and they do it on average every 6 weeks. So the repetitive nature of that behavior is embedded in our business model. And what we've been able to do is go sort of right directly to the consumer and disrupt what was in the past 2 ways that a woman engaged with hair color. One was they bought a highly toxic box from a place like Walgreens for $10. No advice, terrible componentry, horrible instructions, nothing recyclable, and ingredients were, not very good for them. Or they went for 150 plus, depending on where you live. I was with somebody in the holding room who lived in New York City who laughed when I said $150, because that's more like $400. But they went to a salon every 6 or 7 weeks for a significant amount of money. So what we have been able to do is wrap technology around a better product and a better experience. And so the business model is you come onto our site, whether it's mobile or desktop, you answer 12 simple questions in which we are creating an algorithm that's pretty sophisticated that then color matches you with one of our 46 colors. And effectively, we are gaining a bunch of data. We have about 2.2 million hair profiles on that algorithm, so it's getting smarter and smarter as we're feeding Net Promoter Score on the back end into that model. And then we are offering you either the opportunity to buy a single box or a membership, which is a frequency for which you determine either 2 to 10 weeks that you'll be getting a box. In addition, we've taken out the 6 harshest chemicals in the product. So it is the lowest chemical profile product that exists. And then everything in the box is very prestige and premium because we feel as if there has been no prestige hair color brand. Most recently, we've been able to use technology, which is you could take a selfie of yourself and actually text it, SMS, or through Facebook Messenger, and there's a color bot that matches you using the same algorithm that I explained that the 12 questions really fed into. We've grown dramatically in the 2.5 years. We've expanded into some other products, all related to low chemical profile hair color products. You'll see us now with selected products in Sephora, soon to be a very large retailer. We launched on QVC last year, so that's been a huge growth opportunity for the company. And we have our first physical store in Manhattan, and I want you to think about that as a color bar. So if you think about Dry Bar, which is, you go in and out to get your hair blown dry. This is a $45 for 45 minutes, get your roots done. This is usually when the guys in the audience either get up and leave or fall asleep, and the women are typically leaning in, asking me where the address of that color bar. And you'll see us expand more. So you'll see that primarily we would like to stay as a direct-to-consumer model online. So MadisonReed.com is the most important asset to us for a lot of reasons, that margin, profiles, personalization, data. We have huge cohort unit economics, so people stay with us a very long time. 2.5 years worth of cohorts, so not a ton, but enough to know what the unit economics are. But these other channels are really a way to do free advertising and marketing for the company without paying the paid acquisition cost online.
So there's so much there that you talked about. One of the things that you're doing that I think is remarkably interesting is you're taking something that I think a lot of people said couldn't be done. I mean, you can't take away that in-salon experience and give it at home. So my wife colors her hair. I see it on my Amex bill.
There you go.
It's in New York City.
There you go. It's 7 West 19th Street.
There you go. So I think she would be frightened about that first experience. How do you get people to change that behavior, right? So if I'm going to go home to my wife and say, this panel is great, we could save a lot of money, you can have a better, she's big into all the organics. How can I get her over the hurdle of, I don't want to do, am I doing in the shower,
Yep.
It's going to be messy. How do you get people from nowhere to
So
there?
there's two of the two largest friction points are, number one, can you get the color right? Right? And then so just a little bit, out of that 100 million women, 52% do it at home now, and 48% do it in a salon, and 20% are so gray that they do both. So that's the truth. And so on one hand, out of the 52%, we have a huge market to work with that does it at home now and is looking for a better alternative. But the truth is that the majority of our customers actually have come to us from a salon experience. And it's less about the money savings, albeit that's important, but it's more for them about the convenience of time and the ingredients. And so how we do that is the algorithm of color matching is really important to women. Once they see that you're offering them a swatch that actually they think is their color, that's a lot of efficacy. And number two, we've used technology in terms of an app and easy videos to effectively show them 1, 2, 3 how to color your hair and demystify it, as well as a very easy set of instructions that are illustrated in the box. And in fact, our app, you never have to touch it because you wouldn't want to touch the app in the bathroom with color on your hands, so it's voice controlled, and then it sets an automatic timer at the end. So, the concept here is there are some people that there's a friction point we're never going to get over. We have other products like a root touch-up mica powder in a compact that's great for them, and we see them repeat purchase other things. But the truth of it is that we believe technology, the way to think about this is, years ago you would never buy a pair of glasses without walking into a optometrist. You just wouldn't. You'd be afraid to say, what are they going to look like on me? Will they get the progressive piece right? And I think someone like Warby Parker has proven that over time people will trust brands if there's efficacy. The biggest surprise we've had is the number of salons that are buying tubes of color from us directly. That is something we never anticipated. We do not have a sales force for that. That's been inbound. And so what that says to us is the efficacy of the color is there, and people are recognizing that.
It's fantastic. So you can see why I think diving into each of these businesses one by one is sort of more interesting than a general discussion. So, Amy, we'll come back to you with a little more general stuff, but Fred, let's talk about what you do. Amy touched a little bit on the efficacy of video, and so talk about what you're doing at Invodo and how you're changing the universe.
Sure. So we like to think of ourselves as in the visual experiences business for products. So that's primarily video, but it's also things like interactive video and 3D imagery modeling and AR and VR experiences. anything and everything that really helps people experience the product without having to get their hands on it. And you could think of us as an agency, as sort of a specialist agency, so we work with large retailers and branded manufacturers. And the type of content we produce runs the gamut from very basic white background product videos that you might see on a product page before you add a product to cart, to things that are kind of higher up the purchase funnel, things like how-to videos. So in the makeup category, very important driver is videos that help somebody understand how to not just apply makeup, but which types of products they might use. In the do-it-yourself category, in the automotive category, a video on how to change your oil actually helps get an average order value up when people realize they need all these different pieces, and on and on, all the way up the funnel towards social, et cetera. And as people are using video more and more, what we're seeing is recognition that there's no one size fits all, and you don't create a piece of video content for a commercial and then slap it on your product page and expect it to boost conversion rates, for instance. Or you don't take a piece of branded content and make it shoppable because the technology allows to do that. So we're seeing a trend towards people understanding they need to make purpose-built video that really corresponds to what the consumer's trying to do in their journey. Are they just learning about a product category? Are they trying to understand how to do it? Do they want to understand the final specs before they make a purchase? Those type of things. So it's everything from creative and video production and concepting all the way to more of the new advanced kinds of things which are highly interactive, like chaptered video, but then the AR, VR experiences.
So talk us a little more about how you're making that product experience, because it's a great intro into Amy, who's next, how that product experience more try before you buy. I mean, how you're trying to give someone that experience.
Sure, the try before you buy. So there's a couple things. First, even before you try, a lot of people want to know which type of product is right for them. So we see a lot of videos that we call product selectors, where you might walk somebody through a set of questions, et cetera. So for instance, if you're a runner, are you a pronator or reverse pronator? Click here if you are, and that will guide you down some linked videos to help you find kind of the correct shoe for you or the right shoe model, because before you can even experience the product, you have to know which product is right for you. And then you see really interesting things like through AR, VR, or even through good 3D imagery, you're able to pick up a product, a very high fidelity model of a product, and spin it around and look at it from every single angle, which in footwear is one of the categories where you're starting to see a lot of this, because it's not an expensive purchase. It can be an expensive purchase, but it's always a high consideration purchase, and you really want to spin it from every angle and look at it. Down to things that are really pushing the envelope on how you experience a product. So if you look at what somebody like IKEA has done, where you open the catalog and you point your phone at a product and you get a beacon on there, an image of the product, and then you move it around on your phone and see how it looks in different rooms and different places. So that's an example of a product that, a few years ago, nobody would buy furniture online because it's such a kind of a customized purchase to how you're going to use it. So those are, you're starting to see more of those augmented reality, not virtual reality, but augmented reality. The Pokemon craze kind of got people thinking more about that, as well as just moving beyond sort of static imagery and 3D type imagery that you can interact with versus a photo. And then also taking the video and making it much more interactive and sort of taking you down a journey based on where you click and what you're looking for.
Fantastic. All right, Amy, you seem a long way away, so I'm going to come a little closer.
Yeah, you're right in the middle.
A little more interesting.
Shifted.
So Amy, Le Tote. I'm not going to prompt you. I'm just going to say, tell us about Le Tote, because I think you have a very innovative, another innovative business model.
Sure. So Le Tote is a fashion rental service that allows our members to borrow clothing and accessories for a set monthly fee. Each shipment we send out is curated using a proprietary algorithm. However, something that differentiates us from some of our competitors in similar spaces is that we actually allow our customers to swap out what our algorithm chooses for them. So if our algorithm chooses something that they do not want that moment in time, for example, they're going on vacation and they'd rather have summer clothing rather than winter clothing, they can swap out into what we have in our just-in-time inventory. Once they receive their tote, they can keep the items as long or as short as they want. So some of our customers keep things for as short as a week. They wear everything once, send it right back. Some of our customers choose to actually wear things 2-3 times, so they're keeping a tote for 2 or 3 weeks and then sending them back and never want to see those items ever again. So we allow our members to choose their cadence. Whenever they put it back in the mail, we know it's incoming and we'll set them up for another tote. So as many as they can consume in a month, we will provide them in a month. The beauty, we think, of the model is the try before you buy element of it, because what we allow our customers to do is if they find something in their tote that they've rented, something that they've worn a couple times and decided, ooh, I really want to make this part of my ongoing wardrobe, we allow them to keep it. Clickless purchase. They just don't send it back with the other rental items, and we'll just charge them when we receive the box back. Women today, fun fact, maybe scary fact for some men out there. Fun fact of women, 20% of their wardrobe they wear on a regular basis. 80% of their wardrobe they wear 1 to 3 times and then never wear again. There's a lot of reasons for that. If you think about how women consume clothing, maybe they buy an outfit for a specific event, like a bachelorette party, and they never have any reason to wear those items again. Maybe they buy into a trend because they think it's going to be long lasting and they decide they wear it once and then the trend kind of dies and the clothing goes to the back of the closet. Or maybe they buy something, they've tried it on in the store, they tried it on at home, they thought they were going to like it, but after a couple times wearing it or even one time wearing it, it just isn't for them. So all of those reasons add up to why women have items that they just don't wear very often. What Le Tote is trying to do is trying to supplement their regular tried and true items with this 80% of their wardrobe that they don't wear very often on a rental basis. And so women are consuming clothing, and sometimes the items that they are trying, maybe it's a fashion-forward trend like an off-the-shoulder sleeve, for example. They wear it once or twice, and then they decide they really want to keep it, and that's where the magic is. I'm actually the perfect Le Tote customer, and I don't say that just because I work there. My wardrobe, historically, I am a finance person. Let me preface this all by saying that. My wardrobe historically has been very gray, black, navy. That's just what I buy into, and that's just what I'm comfortable with, and I never really did want to invest in trends or colors, because I thought, oh, I'll get tired of them, and I don't want to invest. So for me, Le Tote provides these options that I wouldn't normally buy, because they're just not for me. This dress, for example, ooh, look at that, tucking into my microphone. This dress, for example, I would never in a million years pull this off a rack. It is bright colored, it's got these horizontal stripes that might not go well, but when I got it home, and really this is just a true life example of what happened. I put it in my tote because I knew I was coming to Palm Springs. It seemed like a Palm Springsy kind of color pattern. I put it in my tote. I tried it on when I received it at my house, and my husband said, oh, that looks good on you. You maybe should keep that one. So I'm wearing it here. I'm thinking to myself now, it's comfy. It's like a nice jersey feel. I like it. Maybe I can take it on vacation. It could be more versatile. So it's something I never would have pulled off a rack, but it's something I'm probably going to keep. The flip side of that is I also got some trendy earrings in my tote, which were long, and I thought I might like them, but those are just going to go back because they just didn't work for me. So it really does allow you to try things out that you wouldn't normally try, and we think that's a huge value to our customers.
And the dress does look fabulous.
I was searching for that compliment, thanks.
So some questions which I'm guessing others have thought is, what happens to the clothes that people have tried and they go back? What do they get returned? I mean, how do you make money? How does that work?
It's complicated. We have a full QC process, so everything that comes back. So we allow our customers just to put it. We give them an envelope. They put it back in the envelope. They just have to put it in the mail. They don't have to clean it. They don't have to do anything. Right. We take it back. We have an in-house cleaning facility, so we clean everything in-house. We have QC in multiple areas.
If it's got a big rip in it, do they then?
We have seamstresses on hand where they can mend things that have buttons that come off. If there's a large rip, I mean, we will just, there are ways we can dispose of items. We give some things to charity. We have other ways of getting disposing of the garments that we can't use anymore. But there is a very progressive QC process that allows us to put them back into circulation and send them to the next customer.
Oh, fantastic. So you are reusing these things.
Oh, absolutely. That you have to for the economics of the model to work.
Yeah, I was guessing. And what's the propensity of, is it that same 80-20 where 20% of the goods end up being bought and 80% are rental, or what's that ratio?
It's slightly less than 20%, but it's a good portion of the items that actually get purchased, and we've found ways to induce purchasing. We have an algorithm as well, so we are very data driven. So we are recommending things that we know will fit according to their style profile. We have them fill out a full style profile, and we are getting ratings back on 75% of the garments that we send out. So we know what she likes because she tells us 75% of the time you've got it right or you did not get it right, from fit and style. So we know very specifically what she likes. We've also worked in some pricing algorithms that if we know that she's liked it and we know that it's been worn several times and maybe it's going to reach its end of life, we'll kind of work some pricing into it so we prompt her to buy it. So, there's all kinds of ways we can increase the buying rate.
It's fantastic. Got to move on to Beth.
Of course.
I could spend the whole panel with any one of these people, so forgive me for moving on. Beth, you're with American Giant.
I am.
And American Giant seems to have done everything backwards and it worked. Better products for less money, all manufactured in the United States. Talk to us a little bit about why this has been successful and why you are making things work that others have not been able to make work.
Yeah, well, it's an especially interesting time to be making things in the U.S.
Yes, congratulations on
whether
hitting
you
the train.
believe
Yeah.
where we need to make America great again or America is already great. What we do know that the vast majority of Americans can agree on is that 80% of consumers would like to buy goods made in the U.S. 80% of American consumers would like to buy goods made in the U.S., but they don't want to pay any more for them.
Yep.
And so American Giant was founded with this mindset that, American manufacturing, clothing manufacturing used to be a huge industry, and Bayard Winthrop, our founder, believed that we shouldn't let that legacy go behind in this country. And behind the brand, the spirit of the brand is choosing to do things that are hard to do and persisting and pushing through. And so we made a commitment to make really high quality clothing, but also at very mainstream pricing. So I am wearing one of our new and very popular it's a streetwear legging. It's $69 day in and day out. It's one of those garments that women are wearing. It's the 20% that you want to wear all the time. But we're best known for our sweatshirt, and that's where it all started. If you haven't heard of American Giant, you've probably heard of the greatest hoodie ever made. That's our company. So it really is, it's fairly simple. It's complicated to bring back American manufacturing, but there are a fair amount of factories that were really delighted to partner with American investors and had the expertise to really go from cotton harvest all the way through, every single component made in the USA, and the last stitch, is either North Carolina, Los Angeles, or Philadelphia. Right now, our key manufacturing, our sew locations.
But you didn't stop the innovation there, because you could then have said, and now I'm going to sell this through large retail chains, but you don't do that.
That's true. We choose a more, it is the slower growth path. We could grow a lot faster if we went into wholesale. And my career background, I've spent 16 holidays in retail, and most of them in vertically integrated retailers. I started my career in retail at Williams-Sonoma. And was lucky enough to launch the very first Pottery Barn Kids website. The thing about it is, again, choosing to do things that allow you to serve the customer in a way that we feel really proud of, and that allows us to give the consumer the right end-to-end experience, and allows us to invest the most money possible in the garment, not in the margin required to support a wholesale business. So we choose to sell direct to consumer, and it has been very successful for
So
us.
it's 100% direct to consumer, no stores, no physical locations, 100% manufactured in the United States, 100% designed in the United States.
That's correct.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
So that's my intros. Now I only have 6 minutes left after just the intros, which is the first time I've ever done that on a panel, and I've done a lot of panels. But I think it's fantastic. I got sort of one other question, which I'm going to, actually I have 2 questions for the panel in general, and then we'll have a Q&A from you guys. The first question is about this direct versus not direct model. So you at American Giant have said, I'm never going to do this wholesale. At Madison Reed, you were surprised, and you're like, oh, okay, if someone wants to buy from me and then resell, I'm going to do that. Well, how do you think retailers today should be thinking about the direct versus the mass retailer and wholesale markets? How should we be thinking about that? Where is it going? Anyone?
I'll start. The core of Madison Reed is a direct-to-consumer business. That's the business that we're in. We don't aspire to have more than 10% of our top-line revenue that is generated from any other channel. And so we see any exposure, which is really brand building, of which we're fortunate enough to have margin to share that, being really a brand experience, and it happens to be accretive from a margin standpoint to the brand. So we're direct to consumer business, and it's in essence a building of the brand and exposure in places, because my deep belief, at least I can't speak to American Giant or Tote, I could speak to hair color, which is very personal and efficacious. So the truth is it's emotional, and what you find is women want to see themselves being sure and having a reduction of the fear factor, which is why some physical presence creates the opportunity to do that.
So as a mass market retailer, as a retailer who's selling products from multiple brands, how do you think these companies should think about the future? Is it these things that you're going to live in every day? Are they all going to go consumer direct? Is it only the mass market things? How do you predict the future, and how should they think about their businesses? Anyone else?
I think there's always a place for physical retail, especially, someone said earlier, in the clothing business, depending on the categories that you're in, especially denim, I worked at Levi's, most people want to try it on and, to get a sense of how things fit before they fully commit to buying direct. I think what the biggest change in physical retail is just that it's becoming more about brand experience and that emotional relationship that consumers have with the brand. It used to be very transactional, a place that you would go to shop. And for us as a brand, it will be, we have one store in our corporate office. It's very down to earth, and it's amazing to me how many people want to come in. Literally sits right in the middle of our corporate office. It's buzzing all around them. But they make a special effort to trek into Soma, down the dank little alley. We sit behind MoMA. It's actually pretty nice in San Francisco, because people want to have an experience with the brand. And so I think that it's more about the emotional resonance and the kinds of experiences and confidence that will drive what happens in the physical world of retail.
All right, my last question here, a little provocative one. If today's retailers should scrap one part of their business strategy, this happens to us, we're under pressure, you've got to stop doing one thing. In order to succeed for the future, what would it be? Would they scrap digital advertising, marketing campaigns, stores, online only? Each of you, one by one, I'll start with you, Beth, and go through past Amy. Which would you scrap?
Yeah, well, I have experience at Gymboree, for example, who's kids retailer. very hard to manage inventory and has become very markdown dependent. There are a lot of retailers that are in that situation. So I would say, get your inventory under control, and that's one thing that we err at American Giant. We err on the side of being sold out, and that is a cost to the business too. But I think it's much more damaging to the brand when you're in a constant liquidation mode, and so get the inventory under control, better understand what the consumer wants to buy, earn more full price selling, because that frenzy and downward spiral that comes with living in the markdown world is not good for anyone.
So inventory management, I'm going to shorten that down to that. Amy?
That was exactly what I was going to say, was the fact that traditional retailers, there's a one-day sale every month, there's 40% off today only, except that it's next week too. That model just cannot continue. So the brands that are creating scarcity or are adding value in some other way, whether it's through a stylist or personalization, you need to find a way to get your consumers to buy full price rather than to be consistently dependent on this markdown sale type strategy. It's just not able to be consistently applied.
Brett?
Sure, I think the role of the retail salesperson is going to change pretty dramatically. So this trend of moving towards makeup bars and blow bars, where it's really about experiencing the product versus necessarily even transacting. You look at what Amazon's doing with stores. That's not going away for all the reasons that people that are in the industry know a lot better than I do around the challenges of inventory and fulfillment. But then, what is the role of the salesperson in that model? It's, the traditional sort of Best Buy salesperson is probably going to go away, and you're going to look at an individual that's much more of a coach or an expert to help people find the right product, I think, than you are going to see the traditional retail salesperson.
Amy, you started us off. As close this out.
I think that the role of retailers being a sort of storefront for people to come in to purchase things